Hello, my name is Patricia Lyles, and I'm a student at Liberty University. And today I will be presenting my project on interpersonal communication. I will be discussing my insights on my personal behavioral blend, barriers, and a plan of action to improve my communication skills. Introduction. Interpersonal communication is the kind of quality of contact that happens between people involved in talk and listening. Interpersonal communication is a means by which an individual relates experiences, ideas, knowledge, and feelings to another person and can be expressed through verbal and nonverbal cues. Communication and communicating are continuous, complex, as well as collaborative process of verbal and nonverbal meaning making. Continuous in that communication was going on when we were born. Complex is that examples are like facial expressions, tone of voice, choice of words, past history. Nonverbal and verbal, the two basic codes that humans work with. Collaborative means that we work together. The process we as humans use to perceive others can be understood in what Stewart calls inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling is the taking in of the communicated messages, and exhaling is sending out the messages by the talker. 6 important characteristics that Stewart identified were choice, culture, identities, conversation, and nexting. To become a better communicator, be more assertive is one of my overarching goals. Another is to develop level 1 listening skills by taking in information from speakers, remaining non-judgmental and empathetic, acknowledging the talker in a way that invites the communication to continue, providing limited but encouraging input to the talker's response, and carrying a person's ideas being able to take the person's ideas one step further. And a big one for me is to utilize healthy self-disclosure. Enlarging the conversation by Peterson is keeping the conversation going with 2 main goals: openness and ownership. Openness is communication that makes it clear that I am open to the other person and that they too are people who have something to offer. Ownership is communication taking responsibility for the feelings and thoughts that are mine. My behavioral blend was a self-assessment test of understanding personality patterns. The 4 temperament model of human behavior is D, active, task-orientated; I, the active, people-orientated; and S, security-orientated; or C, curious, competent, calculating. My specific was an S description and a missive, which is probably why I like to blend in the crowd, feeling as though others want me to be still and quiet. In the high C, my description was that I tend to be more passive than active, or as I describe it, as being more reserved than outgoing. How my blend affects my conversation is that I have noticed that it depends upon what setting I'm in. For example, when I'm at work, I tend to be more laid back and passive, with the exception of when I'm facilitating a group session or a one-on-one. Another time when I notice I tend to be laid back and passive is during a family session, with the exception of when a family member might identify themselves as being a Christian, which tends to build my confidence. Identity issues in this situation is what Stewart called, am I competent? Positive behavioral, for my behavioral blend, positive tendencies are being passionate about helping others, humble, determined, a peacemaker, task-orientated, and loyal. Negative tendencies in being passive, it has to do with me feeling my ability to be assertive in my communication, not outgoing or outwardly friendly, guarded. Though I'm a loyal friend, I tend to be like a fault finder, can be critical and costly. In the Queendom Media Service Test, I scored a low with difficulty to getting my point across, which has to do with my assertiveness. Scored in a medium range at understanding the rules of listening etiquette and the ability to actively attend to others. In my background, what I identified has a lot to do probably with my communication and listening skills, is that I was brought up in a single parent household. My mother worked long hours and was not home a lot when she was tired. There was not a lot of explaining and communicating. It was more like do as you're told and do not interact with the neighbors. And what goes on in the home stays in the home. And as an adult, that concept is like filtered over into my adulthood. Um, I struggling with disclosures, revealing my innermost to self to others has always been an issue for me. Assertiveness is like um, lack of confidence in myself might hold back from asking difficult questions, and that has to do with I don't like to be in conflict with others. The flat brain tango, as described by Peterson, is wanting to win a conversation, and we all as humans like to win. It's a problem when we have a need to win. Active listening, half listening, and rescue type listening, and I really struggle with that. And when listening to a person communicate, I tend to stop the listening in my mind and be like trying to solve their problems. Um, Solutions for these actions can be like for disclosure, focus on the present, share feelings about current events. Assertiveness, speak out more often. The flat brain tango, utilize a talker listening process, which Peterson has a card that you turn when it's time for your turn to talk, and it can be used in a family setting. It could be used by yourself, in a group, at work, at school. Active listening, develop and practice level 1 listening skills. Noise pollution is another barrier to interpersonal communication. There's internal and external noise pollution. Internal noise pollution is things like fake listening, dependent listener, interrupter. External pollution includes things like loud noises, being a clock watcher, uh, interruptions, either verbal or nonverbal, fidgeting. Solutions to noise pollution for internal would be like work at listening by practicing. Focus attention on the idea. Take meaningful notes during the conversation, which will help to pay more attention. Keep an open mind. External solutions would be like sit where there are less distractions. Choose a time when you're not busy, when there won't be people. That is a big question for overreaching goals. I could work on developing a level 1 listening skill by refraining from judging. I can refrain from being the rescuer listener, as people tend to feel more self-confident when they solve their own problems. Utilize the talker listener process. I could be aware of cultural differences in communicating with others, which is very important, as people from other cultures do and don't do certain things that I might do. Communicate in a positive, clear manner, recognizing that each person sees things from a different point of view. Practice openly communicating and building my sense of self-worth. Be more self-aware in order to utilize healthy self-disclosure, especially in intimate relationships. Be in an I'm okay, you're okay position. Have a spirit of cooperation. Be a sounding board, allowing the communicator to bounce ideas and feelings off of me, non-judgmentally and again, non-critically. Remain unhooked and natural. Keep my anger and other emotions out of the interaction, and that's a big one. Create a positive atmosphere by being alert, attentive, non-distracted, and using non-verbal behavior effectively. My last plan of action is to continue to keep God first in every aspect of my life. And Proverbs 2 1 through 5 depicts that perfectly for me. Is To me, this scripture reinforces how important listening is in our communication skills, as we are commanded to receive His word, carry His commandments with us, listen attentively with a heart to understand, asking for insight as well as understanding. Thank you.